over a boat.
That's the U.S. military. They're in town now. Just yesterday, a massive Navy warship just docked here, not in Chaguaramas, but in the port of Spain, just basically around the bay here. So yeah, we'll see what's going on. So as you guys have probably been seeing, things in the Caribbean are getting pretty wild. Let me fill you guys in on what we're seeing here in Trinidad. Over the last few months, there have been 18 strikes on suspected drug smuggling boats, most of which have originated from Venezuela. These strikes have been taking place in the Caribbean waters for the most part. I think there was one in the Pacific as well, but most of them are very close to where we are right now, Trinidad. If you guys don't really know where Trinidad is located, it is just miles away from Venezuela. It's the southernmost Caribbean island, and it's literally tucked into a little pocket next to Venezuela. I think it's about 18 miles or even less than 18 miles from where we are to the point of Venezuela. So it's really, really close. So the US military used to actually have bases here in Trinidad. I think it was in the 1950s, but I don't know the whole story behind it. And I don't want to get too much into the political aspects of it. I just kind of want to give you guys what we're seeing here in Trinidad and how these tensions have been rising. So the current Prime Minister of Trinidad is an ally of the US. And being so close to Venezuela, that's obviously put a lot of tension on the Trinidadian people and the country itself. So the tension really started to rise just a couple weeks ago when one of the very large US Navy warships arrived here, not just in the Caribbean, but actually docked in the port of Spain, which is just around the corner from where we are, where our boat is docked. And the US is sending its largest destroyer into the Caribbean. So when the USS Gravely arrived, they started doing joint military training with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. That's when we saw these Ospreys flying over for a couple days. That started really creating a lot of tension and unrest with the people of Trinidad. And then just 1 week ago on Halloween, that's when things really started to get crazy. There was a news article, I believe, that was from the Miami Herald. And basically it said that there are sources that are saying that the US is going to attack Venezuela, not just the boats, but actually go and attack Venezuelan soil. And it's going to happen, and it's going to happen at any minute. I'm not sure exactly what happened after that, but there were calls and alerts and newsletters sent out to the schools to call their parents and have kids picked up early. People were getting off of work early. They were rushing to gas stations and supermarkets to try to just stock up on everything. And the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force was put on high alert, and every active soldier was called in to report to military bases. So just a day later, the Trinidad government sent out a message saying, you don't have anything to worry about. We don't have any reports that the US is going to attack. Everything is calm. Don't panic. But obviously there's still a lot of unrest and the public doesn't really know what to believe. A few days ago, the USS Gravely left the port of Spain and left Trinidad, and where it is right now, I don't know. But as it left, there were a lot of reports coming in about GPS jamming in the area. Obviously, we're getting these reports from a lot of cruisers because we're all relying on GPS for the most part to navigate between the islands and in the ocean. Why are we still here? With everything that's going on, being US citizens here in Trinidad and the US and Venezuela having all of these tensions, and who knows what's going to happen in the future. Well, we're trying to figure out what we should do at this point. We have a lot of items that we have coming in to Trinidad. We have solar panels and batteries and some personal items that we've shipped over here, and we're waiting for them to arrive. And then we're planning on hauling out the boat and installing those items, doing more maintenance to the boat and getting everything ready before we leave Trinidad and start cruising. But obviously with everything going on, that's made us reconsider our plans. We have to decide now if we stay here and wait for all of this stuff to arrive, which is complicated because it's being shipped in as a yacht in transit, which means we don't have to pay the duties and VAT and all of that on top of the shipping fees.
which is a lot. So as it's being shipped in, if we are not physically here and our boat is not physically here, then it's probably going to get held up at customs and maybe denied and maybe shipped back. I don't know for sure. So now we're trying to make a decision on whether we stay here and haul out and start all of these boat work that we need to do, or do we just leave and go up to Grenada or maybe even north of Grenada to get away from this area. But if we do that, then we risk losing all of our shipment items and all of the thousands of dollars that we've spent on these parts. So that's obviously made it pretty tough for us to decide what to do. So even though we're still here in the water, on the dock, we have been doing as much as we possibly could, and there are things that we've tackled, like replacing our washing machine. That was quite a bit more difficult because we were here in the water rather than being on land and being able to, well, I'll show you guys that footage right now.
That was not easy at all. We just spent hours removing the old washing machine from the boat. The bearings are just shot on this thing and it makes this horrendous noise and shakes like crazy. Trying to get parts for it to try to repair it are, well, we couldn't find them. And if we did, shipping them in, all that would be a real challenge. So we found a new washing machine and we're gonna have that brought by today. So we had to get the old one out. And I did not think that it was gonna be that big of a deal, but it turns out that it's too wide for the doorways and it won't come out. So I had to disassemble it and take it like as much of it apart as I could to get it to fit through the doorway. So got it taken apart, has to come up from the owner's side out of this little hole where it just sneaks past in this cabinet, get it out. Ashley and I carried it through up the stairs and out over here and then over to the side of the boat. And we're trying to figure out how do we get this thing off the boat, because the gap between the boat and the dock plus the height difference, and the thing weighs probably about, I don't know, 75 pounds. It's not super heavy, but it's really awkward being just kind of big. Well, we did it. We found another piece of wood and put that plank across there, set it on its side, dragged it across, carried it down. Everything on a boat just takes a lot more time. It's a lot more work. We got the old one out. The new one should be here soon. Then we'll be able to wash our clothes again, and that'll be nice. So that's where the washing machine lives. So we had to sneak it past, and basically it's touching both sides as you lift it out of here. And then this door, it wouldn't clear. So we were thinking maybe we should take this door off and then we can get it through here. But the problem is, once you get past there, you got to go up these steps, and this doorway is too narrow. So we had to disassemble it to get it to sneak through there. We were thinking we might have to take this sliding door off and move it back and then lift it up through here, but that was gonna be a real challenge. So we decided not to do it that way and to disassemble it, which wasn't too bad, except there were some rusty bolts. I had to get out the Dremel, cut some slots and some screws so I could use a big flathead screwdriver to break them loose, and thankfully it all came apart and we got it out there. It's just kind of a mess right now because we also have our air conditioning unit on this side that is not working. Well, we got the new washing machine. I didn't film that because it was really tough to get it over here. Got this thing on board, carried it, lifted up over the railing, got it disassembled. So this one, I didn't have to take apart as much as the other one. We've got it just enough clearance now. So we have about, looks like about 15 millimeters of clearance. Just enough to sneak this thing through downstairs. Good job, Rio. The absolute tightest fit possible. Like, it is rubbing on both sides as we're trying to push it in here. On the bottom, like, snug. All right, well, I'm gonna plug it in. And then hopefully it won't work. Because I didn't turn the breaker on yet. All right, guys, let me take a quick minute to tell you about Mando. It's a deodorant, and I've been wearing it for over a year now. This is an ad, but I really do wear it, and I really do love it. And you guys have seen that I have been putting my Mando deodorant to the test the last few weeks. And it is hot in there, especially with all this gear on. Look at that, no sweat stains. It was a long day, and that Mando kept me dry and smelling decent all day long. It's not a high fragrancy deodorant. It's for guys like us. It's just a deodorant that works. And it doesn't just work for 24 hours, it works up to 72 hours, even in the Caribbean heat. Try out Mando, because I'm telling you, it really works. It is the best deodorant that I have ever used. They've got something that suits you. They've got the solid sticks, they have spray, they have cream, and they have some other items as well. They have a whole lineup. So guys, don't mask it, Mando it.
Another one of our concerns that are a very big concern is that it is still hurricane season, and there's still another month of really high possibility that there could be another hurricane that forms in the Atlantic that moves into the Caribbean. So just a couple weeks ago, or even less than a couple weeks ago, there was a massive Category 5 hurricane that came through, Hurricane Melissa, and it came through the Caribbean. It actually started around here, around Trinidad, and moved in as a tropical storm, and it moved west and then took this sharp turn north and went through Jamaica. It was a Category 5 hurricane. It really destroyed Jamaica, and then it died out a little bit, and it went through Cuba as a Category 3 and a Category 2. There could be another big hurricane that moves through. So that's obviously always on our minds as cruisers and sailors. Most of the time, the hurricanes happen between June 1st and December 1st. Trinidad is a hurricane safe haven. There hasn't been any large hurricanes or really any large tropical storms that have come through Trinidad. So our insurance covers us while we're here, and we feel safer here as far as the weather goes, because as you move up the islands into Grenada and north of there have been large hurricanes that have hit those areas and really devastated them. Trinidad also has a lot of skilled craftsmen and a lot of good boat yards, a lot of chandleries that are well stocked. So if we need parts, we can usually just go to the local boat store and pick it up, and we don't have to ship it in. Since we were obviously here for quite a while, we've met a lot of people and made a lot of friends, so we feel comfortable being here. And obviously we want to travel and we want to go and meet new people and new places, but if we're stuck in one place and we're working on the boat, Trinidad feels kind of like our second home to us right now. So if we went up to Grenada or somewhere else to haul out, it would complicate things a lot, just trying to meet new people, new craftsmen, find parts, find products, find materials for all the stuff that we need to do. That would just be a lot more complicated and take a lot longer to get everything done. So there's a list of things that we want to do when we haul out, and the main thing is the bottom paint, the anti-fouling. That's basically a paint that goes onto the bottom of the boat under the waterline that prevents a lot of the growth that you get, especially high growth rate here in the Caribbean because the water is so warm and nutrient rich. Also on that list are replacing the dinghy davits. So they're these massive fiberglass things that are bolted onto the bottom of the boat, and they swing out and hold the dinghy when it's lifted out of the water. Now that we have this solar arch built into it, I think we can replace those and add some more stainless tubing there, because I also have to modify the solar arch for the new solar panels. So during all of that process, I'd like to get rid of those big fiberglass things they've got to be super heavy. The more weight we have hanging off the back or the front of the boat kind of causes it to do this hobby horsing, where it just has this really uncomfortable motion of the boat. So getting rid of that weight, lightening up the back of the boat, cleaning up that space is something that is on the list. Something else that we would like to do that isn't a priority, but we would like to do it to help out with that hobby horsing, is to actually extend the sugar scoop. Extending the sugar scoops will help with the hobby horsing by creating a longer water line and basically more stability. But it'll also give us a nice swim platform, or when we're bringing the dinghy up and we have groceries or any other items to get on and off the boat, having a bigger area back there just makes a lot of sense. So you guys might have this question: what if we have to leave? What if something happens between the US and Venezuela and we feel like we really need to get out of here quick? Well, we've been kind of preparing for that. We have our diesel tanks about halfway full, which means we have a range of around 400 to 500 miles just motoring. It depends on how fast we go, but if we sail and motor, then we can increase that range to over 1,000 miles, maybe even more. Being down here in the Caribbean and having the trade winds, we can sail up the islands and head towards Puerto Rico and be there within a couple days to a few days, depending on the wind. Also, we have our water maker that is ready to go, so we can produce water. It's a desalination unit, and it is all prepped up and ready to go. Actually, I just ordered some new membrane filters to make sure that it is 100% operational. And we are still missing a batten from our sail. So that's a fiberglass piece that goes through the sail horizontally to help keep its shape. If you guys remember last time we went out for a sail, we realized that one of those battens was broken in half and another one was damaged. Turns out the one that was broken was made out of a PVC tube. And now I'm realizing why it was made out of a PVC tube, because you cannot get those types of battens here in Trinidad, at least not easily. I've spoken to the sail shops and they've tried to order battens before and they don't get here for whatever reason. They just don't arrive, so they stopped ordering them. So our only option right now was to buy another piece of PVC tubing, and we were able to do that. We had a rental car while we were going to the drift event, and we stopped by a hardware store and picked up a 20-foot length of PVC tubing, which was incredibly cheap. I think it was about $5 or $6 US for that piece of PVC tubing, and I had to buy some zip ties to attach it to the car. That actually cost more than the PVC tube, so a couple dollars more on zip ties than I spent on the PVC tube. But either way, I have that tube now, and I'll be installing that soon and repairing the other batten that's kind of shattered. Something else that we picked up in Southern California when we were back are paper charts. So these are nautical charts for navigation, and we felt like it'd be a good idea to have them. And now with the GPS jamming that has been going on, it might be a necessity to have paper charts. So we've got quite a few different charts of the Caribbean. This one is just like general windward Caribbean islands here from Grenada up to Martinique with Barbados. And then we have some that are a bit more zoomed in here. So these are pretty cool. If you guys are older and you used to have map books in your car, it's kind of the same idea, but a lot more detail on the paper charts. So we've got, obviously, we've got the latitude and longitude, but we also have depths. So when you're in areas and you're passing by islands, it will show you these spots that maybe are not deep enough for your boat to go. It's got a compass over here, so you understand where you're heading. And these are true and magnetic. So the magnetic heading is always changing, and you buy new paper charts and they put the most updated magnetic compasses on there so you can navigate properly. Because if you just navigate to a true heading, you might be off by 5 or 10 or 15 degrees, and it doesn't stay constant. It changes throughout your location. So the reason that there are multiple compasses here are because it is slightly different in different areas. All right, so you guys also might be wondering what we're telling our girls and how do we explain all of this to them?
Yeah, it's definitely something that they're not used to seeing every day. You know, ospreys flying directly over the boat, military personnel, and there's definitely a presence here in our area. So it can be a little disconcerting for them, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we're trying to explain to them kind of what's going on without scaring them, which is challenging.
Yeah, but I mean, at the end of the day, we know that our Creator is in control, even through all of the chaos that the world is experiencing and that we are personally experiencing here in Trinidad. So yeah, that's what we tell our girls, and that's, I think, what we also keep in our hearts and minds too as we're going through this experience.
Yeah.
So obviously this trip back to Trinidad has not started out like the first trip, but
we don't feel like we need to head back to the United States. We don't feel like we're in a lot of danger here. We've traveled a lot. We've been to a lot of places, and I feel like no matter where you go, you can run into issues, and you know there's some bad characters and things happen. But yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of comments. You guys have been
we
concerned about
it.
us,
Yeah.
and
all the comments and all the people saying that, you know, you're keeping our family in your prayers. Like, that really means a lot to us.
yeah, and because there are so many comments and questions, we feel like we should do a Q&A. So I think our next video, we're going to decide exactly what we're going to do. So we're going to fill you guys in on our plans, and also we're going to answer some questions. So guys, go ahead and put it in the comments now. Ask whatever you want to ask, and we're not going to answer everything, but we're going to answer as much as we can. And obviously, the more comments we get about one thing, we'll try to focus on those topics more. You guys can ask me automotive stuff, car questions. If you, I would say
former working relationships, maybe
possibly some of that as well. What our plans are for the future, on the boat, off the boat, all that kind of stuff. So go ahead and leave those comments, and
yeah, it should be exciting.
Yeah, let us know, what you guys want to see, what you don't want to see. Maybe you want to see more of something or less of something. Just, let us know. Fill us in so we know what you guys want.
And thanks for watching, guys.
We'll see you guys next Saturday.